Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fearless with Mary. I am your host, Mary Tibbetts, and I am so excited that you are here with me today. In today's episode, I am sitting down with Katanya Timinsky. She is a videographer and photographer who actually had boots on the ground in Ukraine during the war. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Hi, Katanya. Thank you so much for coming on today. I am very excited to hear all about your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Okay, let's dive in. So just tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell everybody kind of where you're from, what you do, all of that stuff.
Yeah, so my name's Katanya Timinsky. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. I'm an international photographer, but I have my home business on branding, content creation, videography, and now actually getting quite into the public speaking world.
Awesome. Welcome to the club. No.
Feels good to be part of the club.
Right? We're so cool. It's a thing. So what topics do you talk about when you do public speaking?
Yeah, so I just did my first TED Talk last year. It was all about my humanitarian work in Ukraine when I went there in 2022.
Oh, okay. Tell me more. Tell me more. I
Yeah,
want to know all of it.
yeah. So in the midst of COVID, as a creative, everything was at a standstill. And by the tail end of it, I was feeling quite eager to do something beyond myself. I actually went to a playoff game in our local city and was just kind of surprised and sitting with this feeling of seeing a lot of money circulating in one space and seeing panhandlers outside and sitting in that, knowing that our economy's been hit. There's people, the middle class has now been kind of pushed down even more and separated. I ended up getting a job offer from someone that I knew in the United Nations, and they said they needed a photographer slash photojournalist to come down to Ukraine to represent and to interview people, specifically women and mothers in distress. And it was immediate yes. And ironically, in the interview process, it was initially to go to Warsaw, Poland, interview people that were getting off the train. After I did the interview, my boss went directly to Kyiv, the capital. And so the job credentials changed, but it still was a yes for me. So yeah, in the midst of like a month preparation, I got everything all said and done. And then I went there for 8 weeks.
That's amazing. I didn't know that one. I knew that you did some humanitarian work, right?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
didn't know that that's what it was. So
Yeah.
then, so you were the videographer there?
Yeah, so I went there in photography, but I also had like some audio and some videography gear. So I was just trying to capture people, capture women and mothers in distress, but it turned into an accumulation of interviewing a wide array of people, just naturally.
That's awesome. So then what happened with all of that footage?
I have it all on my website, and then a lot of it's on my socials.
That's amazing. And then, so was it for here? Like, was it for them to like put on the news and stuff?
It was actually for the organization directly. So they have access to all of it. And yeah, so pretty much I was capturing everything, but I still had the rights to it. So I could still use it for my own personal use as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we're going to talk about resilience. And so, right there, tell me, like, obviously all of those women and children were so like I can't even imagine on any level, but is there one that sticks out? Like, just you think
Yeah, I
constant.
would, I can picture. So I was connected and escorted by Ministry of Defense and Armed Forces. They were my translators. They had helped me directly, thank goodness, because there's check stops, curfews, you name it. So they had helped me quite a bit. And they had connected me with a woman whose husband was killed. He was in the trenches and he was hit directly with a missile. She came with her daughter and sat her down, and it took everything in her power to just be present with me that day. And as much as I couldn't speak the language, I had translators with me. I did what I could to make her feel appreciated and seen and not like on display, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just to, pick up on body language and facial expressions, it was quite powerful. It was quite transformative for me to just being such an empath that I am, to be able to, take that on and experience that and be amongst the people during that difficult time.
That's crazy. See, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
had no idea. So did you grow up in Edmonton?
I
Are you
did, born and raised.
You're
Yeah.
born and raised. You're
Yeah.
like an Edmonton girl.
I
I wasn't
am.
even born here. Good for you. I was
Where were
born in
you born?
Ontario, close to,
Ontario.
yeah.
Yeah.
We moved out here when I was 3, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's wild. Okay, so what do you have planned next? Like that, I feel like that's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, so after I got back, that's when I knew I had to do the TED Talk. And, the humanitarian work, I didn't realize how much of that was interwoven into my story and who I am and what brings me the greatest joy. I can honestly say, for who I am in my life experience, the character arc that I'm embodying and what I want to leave as a legacy is when I give to others, I give to myself. I want to continue visual storytelling. I want to continue documenting culture communities in need, really showcasing that. Obviously, I would love to continue to get published. National Geographic, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I obviously understand the risk that goes with it, considering of me going. So I'm being very conscious of the next trip that I go. But what's so amazing is if I were to work with an organization that is actually giving from the hand and making a difference, I can still take the photos and footage and still do art events and raise awareness here in the West as well. So it's
Yeah.
not like it would be just a, one job criteria. Like, it doesn't really end. It also builds my portfolio as well.
That's amazing. Are you going back to Ukraine?
I do intend to. I'm just being very calculated about it. I had worked with one specific organization, and currently, right now, it is quite dangerous. One girl in particular, I'm hoping to see. She's here this week, and it's so powerful getting voice notes from people that are like boots on the ground. You feel like you get so much more information than obviously what the media is showcasing. So, talking to her as of late, end of June, the attack was so bad, it was like 8 apartment buildings down from her. And then their safe house, some of the windows broke. So it gets quite real, even though the risk is actually lower than you'd think, but it's not there. It's just this
Yeah.
always looming thought. It's like people are doing exactly what we're doing now, but just this lingering thought that anything could happen at any point, and that takes a toll. So I'm trying to be very conscious. For me, if I were to go back, I'd want a clear itinerary, a mission, get in, get out, so that I can be as effective as possible, but then I also can prepare myself and also protect myself as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that way you can protect yourself on so many levels. Being there, protect your energy, protect your sanity, protect
Yes.
everything, right? Like it's very, very, very important. Holy. Okay, so let's dive into a little bit about resilience because we were talking about this earlier. Um, and obviously you captured all of it on film and in pictures. So is that okay, actually, before we do this, so is that the first time that you've ever done something like that? Or
To
have
that
you been?
level,
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
would say. Um, so what actually led me into photography is I actually dealt with some family loss. I have a very unique origin story,
Tell
and
me. Everybody wants to
yeah,
know.
okay. I'll
This is
start from
where we're going. There.
yeah. To start from the beginning, I was born and raised Jehovah's Witness. And, that was actually ironically a big thing that I think I took forward. That baton I took forward is that wanting to care, wanting to give back, wanting to do something beyond myself. Um, I ended up leaving when I was 20. I just felt for my own character arc, for what I wanted in my life, I needed a sense of freedom and self discovery to strengthen my own personal faith. Um, I have no I have so much respect for family that's still in it and people that choose to live by it. For me personally, I don't feel like I need to practice between 4 walls. I feel very connected to source, God, what have you, through life and experiencing different cultures and being around people and connecting. So through that journey, when I had left, unfortunately, I dealt with some family that had mental health issues and addiction issues that had stayed. And unfortunately, I lost my brother, my dad, and my grandpa due to it. But in that, I ended up inheriting a camera. And that is when I was able to truly grieve, to capture life in motion, and to give that to others.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So how long have you been doing it?
10 years.
That's it, hey?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that, the opportunity that you had to go to Ukraine, like I feel like people who have been doing it for 20 would have died to get that opportunity to be able to go and do that. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm like, yeah. So when you left, because I don't know how it works, because I know how it works in some other forms of religion. So when you left, were you still allowed to talk to your family and everything? Was that a thing?
Unfortunately, no. There was a lot of ostracizing, a lot of disassociating. Um, I think fortunately because of the age, I was at a point where Facebook was already, a big thing that people are active on. So it became my kind of contact book for, staying in touch with people from high school. So by that point, it was like I was already at an age where I was moving out and I was able to hang out with people and start to really develop my own personality type. And I can honestly say it was like starting from ground zero, because when you're kind of structured to live within a certain community, and then all of a sudden that bubble breaks, it's a whole new realm of discovering who you are, what your preferences are. Is this actually in alignment for me? So yeah, it's been interesting. I do have some family that aren't involved, so we did have each other through it. It is very interesting, though. I think because we didn't have the practice of Christmas birthdays, it actually did feel kind of foreign trying to introduce these things as adults.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Do you celebrate Christmas?
yeah, I do.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
birthdays? Birthdays
yeah.
are my favorite.
I think Halloween's my favorite.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
Halloween. Okay, that's a whole other like episode. You should see, you know how people have Christmas decorations?
Yeah.
I do. Like I have a tree. But
You scare the
yeah, the
kids.
rest is Halloween. Like we usually change the theme out every year. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah. We want to scare the kids so bad. Like I know that sounds horrible and you shouldn't be like that, but we actually went to Disneyland for Halloween one year. So I could go
Oh,
trick or treating as an adult.
how
Because you're
amazing was
a
that?
child. It was
Yeah.
awesome. It
Yeah.
was awesome. So because you guys didn't celebrate Halloween either.
Nope, none of the holidays, none of the traditional holidays.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So you had friends, thank goodness for Facebook, because then you had friends that you were connecting with and you did have some family that you were able to connect with. So then what kind of got you through aside from all of that and being able to get to where you are now?
Oh, I think music was a huge sense of therapy for me.
Okay.
It's quite interesting now. There's like, I would say in some ways it became a bit of a hippie when I left. Very holistic, very, spiritual in my own way, and kind of just, you just introduce yourself to so many different people and the state of self discovery. And then you're going to a lot of like shows and festivals. And through that, I found with music and dancing, that was my medicine. And there's a lot of people now that, still in my circle that, are in my age group. There's a lot of like somatic stuff that's surfacing now. And for me, that was my medicine. That is what actually carried me through for a lot of it. As I, danced, I felt like I was able to kind of self-reflect in a lot of different ways and kind of process things.
Yeah.
So with that and with socializing and communicating, I was kind of an open book. I've shared my story quite openly. I know some people aren't as comfortable, but I found by that vulnerability, I felt quite freed from my story and been able to kind of navigate the own self limitations that were kind of caused by, the specific upbringing that I had, which was a lot of like shame and a lot of guilt. I was able to really navigate that and just self love through all of that with my circle and my community that I surrounded myself with.
So I talk about that a lot with my. You there? Got it? It
Sorry.
says you stopped
Yeah.
recording. Got it?
Yeah, I'm back now. As long
That's okay.
as
I can edit it. I'm all about the
sorry
edit.
about that. I got an
No, oh my
incoming
God, it
call.
happened yesterday too. I don't know why. It's so weird. You must got a phone call or something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay, yeah. Um, okay, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Okay. So we actually, so when I do coaching, I talk to people a lot about, stuff that happened to them when they were younger, things that they've done, how they need to move past it, and things that they would like to see for themselves in the future, and things that they do for themselves. So for me, I know, so I meditate. I've always run, but so I meditate. I'm a runner. I take care of myself nutrition wise. I do all of that. I do have a network that I am actually building right now. It's very interesting because I'm 45 and I'm all about the boundaries. And when I say boundaries, I don't mean like that, like put your hand out at somebody and no, go away. I'm talking about self boundaries. So I can only imagine, because I've had to release a lot of people from my life in the last year just because they don't align with who I am and what I want for for the second half of my life. They don't align with me. So I can't actually imagine what it would have been like at 20 to put, not even realizing that you're putting those boundaries actually in place for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big thing that I'm navigating now is my pattern of shame spiraling. I have a tendency to put myself down because I think by punishing myself, it keeps me humble. But I'm realizing that it's also keeping me almost in a scarcity mindset and it's
Mhm.
almost limiting me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
almost
the
creating
limiting beliefs. Yeah.
story. Yeah. And it's creating story, yeah, limiting beliefs. Yeah. So there's been a lot of layers. And I will totally admit it's probably going to be something that I'm going to navigate for the rest of my life because we're highly developed. Like we are a lot of our characteristics of when we're children. But I love myself. And I think that self awareness piece is huge. And I think as long as we all have that, self awareness hat on. One thing I thought was crazy, I'm fascinated by stats and anything I can like kind of build in my little toolkit to make me better. I thought this one stat was interesting. I guess only 10 to 15% of our population's actually self aware.
What?
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you mean?
So I
Okay, you
sometimes,
gotta explain this to me. What do you mean
so
self-aware?
it's a very vague statement and I just keep trying to apply it to my life. But when I think about the collective, I'm like, how many times do we just react? You know? And how many times do we have like almost out of body experiences and like it's like our life is a movie? I don't think we can
Yeah.
be self aware 100% of the time. I know I certainly haven't been, but I try to be self aware into like what makes me me, what makes me tick, why am I responding the way that I am, or what makes me me. And I don't know. I think take it with a grain of salt, but I guess I've been just kind of trying to apply that to my life. Like, how am I self-aware in what I'm doing? What kind of conditions have I set upon myself that I could be more self-aware and realize that like I don't actually have to embody this. I don't have to be this way.
Yeah, well, and that goes a lot down to um like how we think of ourselves, right? Like it's the self-aware portion of it because it goes back to the stories that we tell ourselves. A lot, like a lot. And I don't think that, and so when you're talking about self aware, and I completely understand what you're talking about because I can have a conversation with somebody and they'll say stuff to me about what they think of themselves or, you know, how it was this person's fault or what. And I'm like, I'll have this look on my face and I'm horrible because I actually can't hide my face like ever. You can always tell what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh, you're super not self aware that it was actually like you that did the whole entire thing. Like it was actually you. And this is from somebody from the outside. So I understand what you're saying because I honestly think up until about 2 years ago, I thought I was self aware, but then I actually did lots of reflection over the last 2.5, 3 years, and I wasn't. But now that I am, it changes everything. It changes how you speak to people. It changes how you walk. It changes how you dress. It changes who you surround yourself with, what you want to do for work, what you want to do in relationship, all of that. It changes everything once you become really self-aware. That's crazy that that's the stat. I thought I was one of the only people out there that wasn't self-aware. I thought everybody else was and I wasn't.
That's hilarious.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
That is wild. Wow. Anyways, okay, let's dive into being resilient because that was the whole point. And we did talk about some of that a little bit. So, what do you consider being resilient? Like, what does that actually mean to you?
I just keep visualizing kind of my early 20s as I didn't really, I when I left, I didn't really have the opportunity to go to like post-secondary. It made sense for me to really focus on my own personal development and kind of really discover who I was with all the other things that kind of transpired in my life. And I just keep always visualizing this like dim room, this faint light that I just like followed through it all. And to me, that's what I feel like resilience is. I actually saw there's like this, Instagram reel, and it was saying, you are following the light, but you actually are the light. And
Yeah.
that to me is perseverance, because it's a dark world. There's a lot of heaviness that exists. There's a lot of noise. Our sense of community seems to feel, less and less. And, people are feeling more and more alone. And, it's just a matter of like just carrying on, just trusting that like get a good night's sleep, try to stay hydrated, try to eat a good meal. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah. And we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, and I'll be the one to rip the band-aid off and put your phone down, man. Put your phone down and make plans with somebody, put your phone down, go for a walk, and don't take it out the whole entire time that you're visiting, and actually ask them, like, not how's it going? This is the thing. We need to change that in society. I have talked about this a lot. The question needs to not be, how's it going? The question needs to be, how are you? Because they're very, very, very different questions at the end of the day. Somebody can say to me, how's it going? Great. Good. It's
What's
going
up?
great. What's up? It's good. What's up? I'm
What's
good.
up?
But then if somebody was to actually say, how are you? Because that's how I ask people now. How are you? And they're like, I'm good. And I'm like, oh, good. Why are you so good?
Yeah.
But then when you actually ask that question and there's like, well, actually, this is what happened. So then you're actually forming those relationships and having those interactions that we're missing. We've been missing them since the cell phone came out for the most part, right? Like, I remember when I was a kid, we would talk on the phone. I'm way older than you. So I think I'm way older than you. I remember being in like junior high and high school, even after that, because the cell phone wasn't out even when I was like 20 something. It had just come out, but it was the big phones. But I remember waiting by the phone, waiting for somebody to call and being so excited that they called. And then you'd have like your conversation. You'd be laying there with like the big friggin' cord and you had to go around the corner to hide from your sister and then you fight about it and all that other stuff. And I know that that's so silly, but now
Yeah.
you just send a text. There's no anticipation for anything. Everything is right now. And so I think a part of being really resilient for yourself is to be able to put that stuff away and then form the community and embody the person that you actually want to be and actually who you are. That to me is being resilient against everything else around you and the noise.
Yeah. It's very easy to seek comfort these days or, immediate gratification. And we've reached so far in the pendulum that eventually it's going to be I think it's going to make a natural progression where we're going to have to balance it out because we're just not feeling, we're so overstimulated. We're feeling unsatiated. And there's a reason why. And, it's even something as simple as like when you go to the grocery store, smile at a stranger.
Yeah.
instead of have your phone and you're staring at your phone while you're walking, and not making any eye contact. Like, we as humans, we are connected, and it's like those little things that actually feed us, right, and
Yeah.
sustain us, through like simple interactions.
And I don't think that people actually understand. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna refrain. I'm taking that back. That's a take back one. I think people know. I think they just choose to not understand. Right? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm guilty. 100,000. I roll over in the morning. I wake up. I turn my alarm off. My alarm, by the way, is on my phone. It's no longer on the big. I don't know if anybody in your life ever had the big brown and black. Do you know the one I'm talking about? The alarm clock with the red and it was like me, that one? Yeah. So those are no longer. So it's on my phone. I get up in the morning and I grab my phone. I turn off the alarm. And what's the first thing I do? I check to see
Yeah.
what happened on all of my profiles to see for work. I check my email and I make sure that the stock market didn't crash. That's literally what I do every single morning. And then I get up, do my meditation, do all that. So without even realizing it, I'm separating myself. I think that I'm actually connecting myself. I'm actually separating myself from myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think people need to actually, as a society, I think we need to disconnect 100%.
Yeah, from the simulation that is our phone. Because it's even funny too, if you were to like scroll on your phone and see an ex partner or something like that,
Yeah.
your brain and your body doesn't know how to decipher right off the bat, so you will respond naturally as if you saw them in person. So in some ways it's very interesting that, like, although technology is advanced, we haven't advanced as people. So it's that simulation. It's just a matter of realizing that that's not reality. Like, let's actually get dopamine from our physical environment. It will actually benefit your mental health.
Well, and it your mental and physical,
Yeah.
100%, because from somebody who has an autoimmune disease, my phone stresses me out. It is probably the worst thing that I could actually use, like scrolling wise. Business wise, on it, this is the most wild thing. Business wise, I can do a post and post it, and then I don't even look at it. I'll check to see, but then I go back for the dopamine hit, right? Because then I go back to see, okay, well, who liked it? Why is nobody liking it? Like, I don't understand. Did I do it wrong? Oh, this person's doing this, blah, 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 blah. Business wise, I do that, but I'm much better than on the personal level, because you have your business one and then you have your personal one. You're going through it and you're looking, you're like, well, why wasn't I invited to that? And blah, 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 blah. So it's actually really, it stresses you out, which then causes your cortisol levels to do all of the things that they do. And then next thing you know, you are having a flare up because you're not supposed to actually get stressed out. So I think that should be the medicine that all the doctors prescribe. That you're only allowed to use your phone for half an hour a day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
Wouldn't that be
that was
magical?
even a huge catalyst that got me to go to Ukraine. I was very shocked to be 2022 photographing a wedding in Mexico and seeing people in bunkers. And I mean, to see media, obviously understanding what's really happening in the world and understanding different narratives and everything is really important, but it's hard on the system. It overloads the system a lot, right?
Did it feel like you were in a movie
Yeah.
when you were
Yeah.
there?
I
Like, did
don't
it
think
just not feel real?
Yeah, I never felt more present and on the edge of my seat, but it did feel like a movie.
Mhm.
Absolutely, it did.
Like, it felt like, because I've had times like that where I've been in weird, not weird. So I'll give you a little small backstory. Everybody who listens does know this for the most part. So in 2006, when I gave birth to my son, my husband actually was in the military and he was in Afghanistan at the time. He was fighting the Taliban.
Wow.
And so he was supposed to be, this was my movie moment, like where nothing was real because I'm pregnant with him. He was due on May 22nd, and my husband was coming home on his leave on May 20th so he could be here for the birth. of course, him being him, and if you knew him, you'd understand why I say this. He decided he was coming on May 7th. So here I am. I'm in labor and delivery, and I'm giving birth to our son. My husband's not here. He's in Afghanistan. And call, I had to call, how did it work? I had to call Ottawa for them to patch me through to Afghanistan. They had to find him in CAF, so the Canadian Armed Forces like base thing there. They had to find him, and then the guy who answered the phone went in and shook him and said, "It's a boy, wake up. Mary's on the phone." That's my
Yeah.
movie moment right there. Like
Wow.
yeah, and I find it interesting because you were in Ukraine and he was in Afghanistan. So I find it very surreal and interesting all at the same time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think for me, and I'm sure your husband can attest too, just understanding probably how resilient we are as people. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild how it's, a completely different world over there, yet people were still getting married. I photographed the wedding while I was there. The
There
guy,
in Ukraine?
yeah. It was so
Really?
beautiful. Yeah,
Oh,
the commander went to the front 2 days later after the honeymoon, and it was such a beautiful way to volunteer, to like capture those special moments, to see a graduation, to just see people like, you know, holding each other in like the public courtyard, to just see the little sparks of joy. It's so heartbreaking knowing that these people are holding their ground and they're constantly being, in the face of adversity. I do recognize that like you are in a constant state of hypervigilance. Like you can't really address your trauma until the danger's gone. So
yeah.
I think more than ever, when the war ends, there's going to be a much need for support for these people in these communities. My hope was to go down in September. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do so, but my goal was to go to these frontline communities and do resiliency sessions, like supporting, where they are helping the women and the children get out of their head and come back into their bodies, and just
Yeah.
a form of therapy and meditation of sorts,
Yeah.
because there's such an education gap there. There's like no work. Everyone's just at a standstill, and the mental health is just terrible. And that, to me, I was so inspired. I'm like, we are so resilient as a species. How
Yeah.
they get up and keep going.
Yeah. It's crazy. Hey, if you need somebody to come with you for that, for real, call me. Like
Absolutely.
that's my jam. Like I would love to come and help with that. I actually, a friend of mine, I have two ladies actually that I know that are from Ukraine. And when the war hit, we were at work together. And the one lady, we were at work together. She ended up taking a couple of weeks off just so she could be on the phone back and forth, like to see what was going on, like with her parents. And then my other girlfriend, her dad lives there, and her sister and her mom live here. Okay. And her dad lives there. And right now, he's selling the house. Like he's
Wow.
selling the house because he's like, well, I don't need it. Nobody's here anymore. I'm like, what do
Yeah.
you mean he's selling the house? She's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. I said, did anybody buy? She's like, there's an offer. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh,
what?
yeah. Oh, I know. It's wild. When I toured, so if you were to look at Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, like Edmonton, the major airport was in the St. Albert. So this would be northwest. And then Spruce Grove was Bucha, where a lot of the war crimes had happened. And I explored the Irpin, which was like the St. Albert region. And there were people rebuilding, living in rubble. It was so powerful. And I know that you can totally relate. There's something so incredible from like the ability to give from the hand. But the fact that now I know they've rebuilt and property has continued to go up despite the fact that this
Yeah.
war is still active, and
Yeah.
still like you would rebuild and it could just get hit at any point. It's
Yeah.
it's it's crazy to me. But
Yeah. And then you would just rebuild it again.
yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I know. See, and that's the thing. This conversation are the things that people don't actually see. right? Like they're not actually seeing this happen because, well, they're not because they don't have they they're not going to put the whole thing on the news. It doesn't matter anyways,
It's
but whatever.
hard.
But it's hard.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I try to educate people all the time. I really try to express the education gap, the mental health, try to paint a picture because, we as people, I think we feel more connected with stories so that we can like visualize and we can truly empathize with what's happening. And I think we need to do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, we're going to leave it there. We're going to do this again. And okay, yeah, 100%. So, before we go, tell everybody where they can find you, all of that good stuff.
Absolutely. So my website is www.katanyadesign.com. You can find me on Instagram at Katanya Timinsky. You can follow for updates. You can watch my TED Talk on YouTube.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm excited. And of course, you guys know where to find, find me, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful that I got to actually meet you today. That's amazing.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. We'll talk very soon.